Good evening. With you, Majd Hussain. I am the principal of the American School of Creative Science, Maleha Sharjah. Welcome to UAE School Fair. I am glad that I will be talking to you today about some tips that you can use with your own kids. So if I can see my slides, please, would be wonderful. So we can move to the tips for parents. I hope that you are all ready because look, what I'm bringing to you right now is 30 years of experience with working with parents and with kids. And honestly, most of my day as a principal goes to me talking to the parents about how to help their kids with their learning. So without further ado, if we can start with the first slide on how to help your child to increase the concentration. Now, if you look at the first comment on the screen, where most of us fall into this trap, whenever we see our kids, we want to tell them to focus and to do their work. And unfortunately, sometimes we ask them to do more than what they are able to do. And we want them to focus only on their schoolwork. Kids are, in most cases, they get distracted because they are kids, easily distracted. They want to play. They don't want the limitation of you telling them what to do. They want to, let me just try to see, all right. So in most cases, also kids, they lack interest in what you're asking them to do. They don't want to do it. And they would like to do their own thing, which is just play and spend time with their friends. Now, in most cases, we as the parent, we want them to only look for their own education and their studies. And it is difficult in most cases for the kids to concentrate because of the age, as we mentioned earlier. What I would like to take you to is some of the concerns when we are at home with our kids. We think only of where we want them to be. We tend not to think of where they want to be. And kids, usually, whether they are younger kids, whether they are toddlers, or they are teenagers, you will see that they have different needs. They have different expectations of their time than what you as the parent have. So my advice to you is that if you would like them to really increase their concentration and focus on their studies, is try to think the way they think. Try to put yourself in their shoe, because unfortunately, we as parents, we have high expectations of our kids. We want them to be in a place where the kids, they don't see themselves in. We would like to see them somewhere they don't see themselves there. So what I am asking you to do is try for once to put yourself in their shoe. Try to think of what they're thinking of and then take it from there. Because what we don't want to be, don't want to be somewhere and our kids in another place, right? So if we can move to the next slide, please. Let's look at what can I do as the parent to help my child. There are so many things that you can do as the parent. So many tips, and you can see them from the slides. But again, if you are not with the child on what they want, and you're only looking at what you would like them to do, then you are going to face that problem always. Number one, we want our kids to be successful. How can I make sure that my child is going to be successful? What can I do so my child can be successful? I need to teach my child. I need to set my kids to a routine. How can I set my kid to a routine? It honestly starts from the early on when they are toddlers, but it's never too late. You can always set your kids to a routine. But let me ask you this. Do we have a routine ourselves? So we need to have a routine ourselves before we are asking our kids to be in a routine. How can I get my kid to a routine if I am the parent and I'm not being the role model to show my child how to be in a routine? So my advice is that start with a schedule. Start with any kind of scheduling that you put on the fridge and you follow up with them. Start with make some kind of a space that this is the space for us to play and this is the space for us to read. Let's sit and discuss this story. Let me ask you about something that you have done today. But then we tend, whenever we ask our kids to, what did you do in school today? And we all know the answer. The answer is nothing. Almost 90% of the kids, they answer when the parent asks them, what did you do in school today? They say nothing. Of course, the child did not spend 8 hours in the school with nothing. I am sure the kids did something, but then unfortunately, in their own mind, it doesn't register. So what you need to be doing with your child is really teach them how to communicate. When we start with the question, it flags something in their mind. It flags, I'm being tested now. And kids don't like to be tested. They hate it. So what my advice to you is have a conversation. This conversation is going to be the tool to get you where you want to be with your child. Because without this conversation, you're not going to get any answer. You're not going to get anywhere. So we talked about putting some kind of expectations in a smart way, in a subtle way, because our kids don't like to be told what to do or set to wear. I need to be smart as the parent and set it there, engrave it. So I need to be clear on, I am proud of you and I know you can do it. Instead of me telling my child, I want you to get this. I want you to achieve this. No, I am proud of you and I know you are going to get there. That's a different way of tackling the issue with your child so you can at least get somewhere with your child. Now, when it comes to studying and they come home, if they go to school, whether they go to school or they attend online schooling, when they come, you need to provide the focus. They want to be focused by what? Keeping them around. Encourage them to really put some kind of scheduling for going over what they need to do. And then it's okay, it's fine to, this is something that I have to tell you before I give you all these advice. I am a mother of 4 and all 4 of them right now are at the university level. But then what I can also say is that my kids, I never, even though myself, I am an educator and I have been working in schools for over 30 years, but still, I never took the role with my kids that I am the educator or the teacher. to help. No, to me, I get information from them because that is how I get them to start talking to me. So how do they, role play is very important. So they come and tell me, I don't know how to do this. And I say, so what do you do when you don't know what to do? If you are in the school and you do not know what the teacher asks you to do, what do you do? And the answer comes, I ask the teacher, I ask a friend, I try to find an answer myself, and then I say, okay, let's try one of these solutions. Let's try to make it happen. And then you see that from them that they try with, one of them is just talking to their friend, or they say, okay, I'll text my teacher, or I'm just gonna go and Google the answer. I can easily give them the answer. I just don't want them to rely on me to get the answer, because that is not helping them. What am I trying to do here? I'm trying to make them accountable. I am trying to make them responsible. I am trying to make them learners, because I want them to be learners. So my kids never asked me anything after, because they were so convinced that my mom went through schooling, went through universities, works in schools and in education, but does not know. Well, because I want them to find out the answer themselves, not to rely on me. And that happened. Now, all four of them are completing their higher education or higher studies, and some of them are achieving PhD and doctorate. So I go back and I say, how can you help your child? We are in a pandemic. You might just say, but you know what? It's not easy. It's easily said than done. But try. Even if you got your kids to the routine of depending on you to help, you can wean them, but you have to start. How do I start? That is something that we can talk about. But you have to start, and you cannot keep it the same way. You cannot keep it that your kids are relying on you and they cannot do anything of their studies if you are not with them. I have one of my staff members, she comes to me and she says, what do I do? If I am not with my full energy when I come back from work, I cannot help my kids. And then my answer to her is always, why do you need to be with your full energy? Your kids spend around 5 to 6 to 7 hours with a teacher, whether online or face-to-face. Why would you be the one to repeat or to help them get there? You don't need that. But then they feel it's their job to be available for them. What I'm telling you right now, your job is to be available to support and love unconditionally. This way, they will be progressing and they will be achieving. But if you thought that helping them is by only teaching them again or checking the memorization skill, you're not going to get anywhere. I sometimes get parents who are calling me and telling me, but we studied very hard for social studies. How come we did not achieve 100%? And I say, why are you saying we? And then the parent says, we spend hours and hours studying for the math, the subject matter. And we did not get 100%, we got 80, that's not fair. I say, excuse me, your child should have been studying. You did not need to study. You did not take the test, your child did. So in a way, The parents are confusing. They feel that their role, if they do not really do that work with their kids, that they are not doing their job. And I'm here to tell you that's not on you. What you should be doing is providing the right environment, providing the right routine, providing some kind of schedule, holding your kids accountable, asking them to do it, not to be yourself. So when it is encouraging ownership and effort, it's what we talked about, is that I want you as my child to show me or to prove to me that you're able to do it. Now, we should also at the same time manage their expectations and ours. So if I ask them to really spend time studying, I should be also putting part of their routine, some time to enjoy their time with what they like. And it should be fair, and we should agree with them. So me and my child, we should be in agreement. You work on your learning for some time, and then you get the time to go and do this kind that you enjoy, whether that is working or playing with a friend, or calling a friend, or whatever that makes them feel that they are enjoying their time. So I have my own expectation as the parent, but I have to also manage my kids' expectations, because it is a partnership that I'm building. It is a relationship that I'm building. It's not only me and what I want. It doesn't have work. All right, if we move on to the next slide. And now we want to tackle the time of the year where this is our the end of the first year of COVID, and with the situation of students being face-to-face or coming to school, the ability of being in the school or the ability to be only online. Sometimes the students or the kids are having the hybrid model where they come to school only 2 days, 3 days, and they are away for 2 days, 3 days. This is a very difficult time. It is difficult time for you as the parent, and it's difficult time for your kids at home as the students. It is difficult time for the teacher in the school or the teacher who's trying to teach at home. It is difficult time for the administration of any school to really manage it right. And we should be looking at so many different angles. We should be looking at the well-being of our kids. Because if I have the expectations and I want the child to really achieve, if my intention is that I want the child to be able to, if I want the child to be able to reach the target that I want them to reach, then I need to be, at the same time, I need to be understanding to what they're going through. The face-to-face comes with guidelines. The face-to-face teaching at COVID times comes with guidelines, with social distancing, with masks being put on their faces for the whole time they are in school, with no playground time, with them not eating even in the school cafeteria, and so many different things. This needs us to really pay good attention to our kids' well-being. And if we were at the beginning before doing something, we should be doing a lot more now. And there is no right answer, and there's no final answer, and there's no yes, we know, and no, we don't. We have to keep on trying to get our kids to be where we want them to be. The teachers are struggling, the students are struggling. And it is a very difficult dilemma. At home, parents are struggling. And I hope parents are appreciating what the school was trying to do before. I see a question coming from one of the parents, and the question is saying don't you think that the entire education system has to be reconsidered after the pandemic? This is what we're talking about, really, because the education system right now, whether we like it or we don't, what happened with the education right now is that we were pushed into doing something that we did not, or we were not probably ready for, but we did it. Did we do a wonderful job? Yes, we are trying. And every day is a better than the day before it. And I was talking to my staff the other day, and they were saying, one of them, she said, I did not see myself at any point able to use technology the way I use it right now. So teachers were put in a situation where they were forced to do something they were not even trained for. And we all know, they were put into heavy training last academic year, when we were all in lockdown and we were all working from home. So to answer the parent question, yes. I don't think that schooling is going to go back to the traditional way at any time. We were working together with the team in the school the other day, and we were talking about what are the things that we learned from this situation that we are in. And we came up with so many things to keep. We said whether next academic year would be 100% full staff and full students attending in the classrooms, are we going to go back to the old ways, or are we going to change? And honestly, we all came with the conclusion, no. Education system will have to change. It cannot be the way it was. And we have to learn from our experiences, whether COVID was there or not, whether the pandemic was there or not. We have to learn from that and move on. So I was talking about students and how can we cope with the well-being of students. And as a school, we have something that we have to do, and it's a huge part. But right now I am talking about you as the parent, and how can you help your kids cope with it? We shouldn't be having the same expectations. Our kids are not able to go even and play in a park the way they used to. Because right now, even parks, you don't want them to use the same play equipment that other kids are using. Out of safety and out of safeguarding for your kids, you don't want them to touch things that were touched by others. You want to be very careful. Then educating them is the key. Communication is the key. And communication has to be from your side and their side. I did not say lecturing them, I said communicating with them. In most cases, the minute a parent starts talking to his or her kid, they are going to see the child losing interest. Because to them, they look at what you're saying as the parent as, sure, now they're going to say this. They expect what you're going to say. I want to be, as the parent, unpredictable. I want to give my child what they want to get what I want. And believe me, you can. You just need to work hard on it. So if we move to the next slide, please. Right. So what are the challenges? I mean, I listed a few, but I'm sure there are tons of challenges. that our students or our kids they face when they are in a distant learning situation. Or if they were in hybrid, where they come to school probably 2 days a week and 3 days a week, they are at home. The challenge is that in most cases, it's the lack of support. Lack of support is not necessarily from the school or from home. It is lack of support in general. Kids, they need the attention, and a child behind the screen is not able, in most cases, kids don't even turn on their cameras. And teachers, they are trying to call on to this child to really, to really try to have some kind of conversation. But then again, the teacher, as we mentioned, may not be as ready for the distant learning yet. So this lack of support for the child will affect the child. Now, if we talk about face-to-face, I'm just going to go back and forth between distant learning and face-to-face. But because face-to-face is also with the guidelines. I've walked around in the school and I've seen students who are inside the classroom, sitting with their mask on. Teachers are limited in the space that they can be in. Kids not working in groups physically. How can we support them? What can we do so we can make them feel that they are achieving, that they are in a different setting? I think the best that we should be working on is a change in mindset. This change in mindset should be from the parent and from the teacher. So from you as the parent, you change your mindset from the way we used to do education, the way schooling was. And you should now switch into a new way that probably is better right now. So don't feel bad or sorry for them. Because to replace the grouping that they had before, right now what they can do virtual grouping. So they are still working together, but they're working together in a group virtually. That's still achieved. So teacher will plan for different groups according to ability, according to the task. The teacher will set her success criteria and will work accordingly. This way, as a child, I am working with my classmates, whether I am in the school or I am at home, because I can do this grouping. Teacher is giving the feedback right instantly on their virtual work or talking to them right away. You have to change your mindset as the parent, that things changed. Education is changing. And I don't think we're going to go back to the old way. I don't think that we are going to go back into the school being the school as we knew it. I'm not going to talk about the school we went to. I'm just going to talk about the school that your own kids went to. We have to change our mindset. We have to be able to move on. Our expectations, they have to stay the same. But then we have to be smart in the way we want to reach to our expectations. And it's going to take some time. It's going to take some effort from your side. It's going to take a lot of patience from your side and our side too. We are, as the educators, we are part of this bargain. And we have to do our best. I am 100% sure we can do it if we work together. I always tell them school, home is a partnership. I cannot do anything in a school if I'm not in the right communication with the parent. If the school is not communicating to its parents everything and going step by step with their consent and with their knowledge of what's happening, then what happens is that there's a conflict. And who is losing in this kind of conflict? The child. And the child learning is going to be affected. So we go back to the distant learning, and we go back to the challenges that we face. So kids also, students, they have this feeling of isolation. We have some academic discipline that falls, we have some misuse of technology. We have different things that will come with the challenges. Now, as the parent, you always struggled with your own child when it comes to using technology. You probably, because we talked about routine and we talked about setting a schedule, so part of your routine should be assigning specific timing where your kids can use the technology the way they use it. There should be part of your routine and part of your mentoring as the parent, there should be some kind of limit to what you as my child can do online. I'm just assuming that this is something that is done from your part as a parent. What we can talk about right now is how I can raise the awareness to my child that when you are in a lesson, when you are using technology, but this is for your own learning, to do it right. And that goes back to what I mentioned earlier, the accountability and the responsibility. To be honest with you, something that we noticed from our surveys with our own students at the American School of Creative Science, we noticed that our students from last term to this year, first semester, we did a survey and by the end of the year last year, and we did the same survey this year. And we noticed that the sense of responsibility is at a different level right now with the kids. They are the ones who are seeking or searching for their own learning. It used to be mostly the parent. So it's working. Now, what we have done and what we encourage all schools to do is the awareness to the parents on how to deal with these situations and how to benefit their own kids more. All right, I see another question coming about how do we deal with kids' frustration of not being able to connect with teachers? I don't see that there is a frustration. Because to be honest with you, when I ask such a question, then I'm putting my own expectation as me, as the one who is used to the education the way it was. Our kids, they know how to communicate with their teachers using whatever the school is providing in terms of platforms, and they are the ones that get to what they need. So this is not frustration, because these kids, when they spend time and time again on video games and communicating with each other using technology, that's what they know. But what we know is that the kids, they have to ask the teacher and they have to see the teacher face to face and they have to get an answer. But that is not the situation. The situation is that right now, the kids are being more comfortable with what they are doing. I think the very young kids, if we are talking right now, because this question, if it was for the younger kids, the pre-K or KG kindergarten age, or let's say the grade 1 or 2. So those are the 4 years old to 8 years old. Yes, those are missing on so many different things. That is why those kids we need the parent to work with the teacher side by side. And in most cases, I encourage those parents to really trust in Allah and put their kids in the school face to face. Because online for them, if the parent is not really doing the follow up with them, may not be as successful unless the child is super genius. MashaAllah, I heard of so many success stories because this, as we mentioned, the kids with these ages are they're losing at the personal touch. They're losing at the I want to say the follow up, the really focused follow up individually. What we have done in our kindergarten is that we asked our teachers to do these kind of meetings where they sit with every child for 10 to 15 minutes without the classmates. Because this gave the child, now, because so many of the parents did not want to take the risk and send their kids to school. They don't want to take the risk and get their kids to school during a pandemic. Fine, that's a personal choice. But then what we told the teachers, set a time where you meet with the parent and the child. Set a time to get to know the child. Because when the child is back into the class, he knows the teacher. Some of these kids never met the teacher face to face. They met the teacher only through a screen. So yes, it is difficult, but it can be done. I don't see the frustration at the older age. I see that now, mashallah, kids at elementary, I'm not going to talk about middle and high school age. I'm talking about the elementary age. They're able to communicate and send their messages to their teachers very easily, whether using the platform that they're using or using the, sometimes they use the social media. In most kids, they use their own phones along with the platform, because they're working on one or two different tools while they are taking their classes. So I don't look at this as a frustration, but let's say the frustration is there. How can we deal with that frustration? One of the things that I mentioned was setting a time to meet with the child, the time where the teacher will meet with the child, individual time. Another solution would be that the parent would make the effort of communicating with the teacher and have that communication related to their own kids if the child was very young. I hope I answered your question to the right way. Or as I said, there is no right or wrong way. There's always the time where we try to do our best. So if we move on with our presentation, to the next slide, please. Thank you. All right, I wanted to talk about some of the success stories from students and staff. I did mention the story of the teacher who communicated to me that she has never thought of herself that she can do technology or use technology effectively. And she's surprised that her ability of using the technology is improving. Now, success story from students. We have some of the kids, maybe some of your own kids as the parent, that were not doing wonderfully amongst their peer inside the classroom because they were challenged, behaviorally challenged by other kids. So other kids' actions affected them. Now, what happened with these kids, they were struggling when it came to education. I noticed that these kids right now are achieving better. So we have some success stories that this kind of way, which is studying online, distant learning, made them achieve better results, made their learning better. Whereas um, before, they were always challenged. They were followers to others. Hopefully, this is going to help them once we come back face to face, all of us. Maybe this will give them the strength and the self confidence in their ability. We have so many success stories that we can talk about. And those stories involve kids, involve parents, involve teachers. I mentioned one for a teacher, I mentioned one for a student or a child. I want to mention a success story for one of our parents. This parent, mashallah, she had 5 kids. And she came last academic year when we were online, and she was like, there's no way I can do it. I have all different ages. I cannot do this. The mother is not a working mom, but she's not educated to help them. I told her, give them the trust and give them the responsibility. Just encourage them and make a routine and a schedule for them. They struggled for some time. She came to me this year to say, honestly, it worked with some of my kids. 3 of her kids are now able to really depend on themselves and do whatever. She said, I know nothing of what they are doing in their own school. I am the one that is following up with the younger ones, but my other 3 kids, they can do it on their own. Thank you very much for your advice. And you know what? I think I'm going to keep them distant learning until next year. So this is another success story. We have, I am sure each one of you will add to that so many other success stories. I hope I did give you this brief, short talk, some tips on helping your child. And I can wrap up this with a few words: accountability, responsibility, and trust. Trust your kids and trust that they're going to be doing it, and give them the accountability. Unconditional love and support will get you a place. But if they are not responsible enough, take the time, not right away, do it gradually. Thank you very much. I enjoyed your questions, and I hope to see you in the future. This is Majd Hussain with you, the principal of the American School of Creative Science. Wassalamu alaikum.